Hey there, Rivermen fans. I'm Jason Ruff, along with Rivermen head coach John Trudel. It's time for another edition of Trudel's Take, presented by Premier Epoxy. Jason Ruff joined once again, and as always, with Rivermen head coach John Trudel. Guy, looking good, repping the Peoria Junior Mustangs. How has that organization been this year? I've been hearing a lot of good things coming out of the Mustangs camp this year.
Yeah, so proud of him. There's always room for improvement, but we're really happy with the success we had. And for me, success equals development of our young players and the love of the game. I think we're going to retain a lot of our players because not only I feel like they developed, but they had a good time doing it. And I think they understood also that by having Mark Bassing part of the crew and Blake Ortman, and we had our goalie coaches that did a phenomenal job. So for us, it's just a matter of keep getting the product better, but very, very proud of kids, parents buying into a philosophy that's not always easy because we're practicing over 5 hours a week. So it's not easy, but the commitment was there, and the kids got way better. And it's a big old family, so it's a lot of fun. And to me, I get as much just pride seeing my young players get better, not only on the ice, but maturity-wise, leadership-wise. So it was a great year. Always room for improvement, and that's what we're going to work on right now, working on the new curriculum for next year.
Got to ask, any potential NA3 Mustangs or any maybe even potential future Rivermen in the Junior Mustangs this year?
Oh, yeah. We have. I do believe we have, it all depends on their path of development. Mm-hmm. But if they continue like they are, I believe we have a lot of NCAA athletes. Mm-hmm. And NCAA athletes equal at one point playing for, we have a lot of kids that played for the Mustang, played NCAA, and then played for the Peoria Rivermen. So, I'm not recruiting all the way there yet, but I gotta say I'm very, very proud of our kids just getting better and buying in. Because, like I said, 3 times a week, 5.25 hours on the ice, or some teams at 5 3/4. That's a lot of ice time. And with Mark Bassing, sometimes the skating part is really technical, and you really have to pay attention. And just to me, the resolve of those kids of just continuing, and I think that's why we had so much success, because we're lucky to have mentors like Mark and Blake Ortman, and kind of teaching kids the right way and the right way of doing things also, not only on the ice but off the ice.
How much of an inspiration is it for these kids to have guys like an Alec Hageman, like a Tristan Trudel or whatnot, or a Mitch McPherson, guys who have come through that program and are now playing professional hockey here in Peoria in front of their friends and family?
Yeah, I think that's for sure a motivation for the kids. The best part of all that is we're very lucky. I feel like it's been, we've been doing that for years now, is the Alec Hageman, the Tristan Trudels, the Mitch McPhersons are very, very humble athletes, and they give back to the community. If those guys would just disappear, not give back, and not be around those kids really wouldn't care, because they would see that, those players are a little selfish and a little too big for them. But now that they're involved, and I mean, Tristan knows pretty much every name of all the kids at Peoria Youth Hockey, and they really hags the same way. So it's nice to see, and I think that's what gives hope to our young players that maybe I have a chance to play one day in front of Rivermen. So kudos to the Hags and Mitch and all those Peoria locals that had a chance to play with the Rivermen and always give back to the community.
Because it's all about prepping the youth. I mean, that's arguably our most important resource is our youth, especially for the growth of the game of hockey.
The game of hockey, but also the leadership. Because like me, a lot of those guys are, they're going to play college levels at some point, but a lot of them are not going to make it in hockey. So for us, just building leaders, leaders of the community, people that do the right things every single day, and that's what we try to preach every single day, because we know, the percentage is going to be low playing pro hockey, but at the same time, if they can get a great education and have mentors teaching them the leadership way and, being great citizens, we did our job as a hockey coach.
Well, I tell you who's been doing something right, the Peoria Rivermen. 12 straight victories here on home ice, including back-to-back sweeps of Pensacola and Quad City over the past 2 weeks. Guy, I read you the stat before we came on. The Rivermen have played in 6 games. They've allowed just 5 goals. When you hear that stat, what sticks out to you?
Well, I think we're connected defensively. I think we're connected in all three zones. I think our goaltending, Tino's playing extremely well. His timing, his patience. He's always had that goalie mentality. Nothing really phases him. But now, just in that, I think Eric Levine working with him a lot. It really helps out. He's been calm in that and he's got a lot of confidence right now. But for me, it's always been a six-man unit. And then if you look at our PK, then it's a five-man unit. And those as a coach, you try to find those players that are going to buy in.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say this: we might not be the most talented team, but we always find the right guys and the right mix of guys to make sure they buy in, play the right way, and become competitors. And we're lucky. Some example, Morsey, I got from Pensy, and he came in with a great attitude, and he did what he had to do to get the body, the mind in the right spot to do what he does now. And right now, he's a guy we need on the ice at all times. So for us, just we're lucky to have the leadership group we are, because as much as it's not always perfect, don't get me wrong, we won 12 in a row, but for me, I see the last game as a loss. Mm-hmm. As a coach, because I don't feel like we got better. I felt like we kind of were a little stagnant in our effort and stuff. So, but at the same time, good teams find a way, and leadership always finds a way. To keep winning the game. But for us, we understand now we have 6 big reps left, 5 of them on the road where we haven't been as consistent. So it's going to be nice to just go on the road as a team, kind of build that chemistry. We have a few new guys, so we're excited. We're excited about the 12 games at home because we want to make our fans proud. We want to win for them, but at the same time, we still understand that. There's a lot of things that are, not perfect in the way we want, but that's okay. That's what you got to keep working on. I always say, no, not always. Playing great is hard as a coach. Because you just keep rolling, but you could see details kind of getting, not getting as good. So right now with that last game, I think it kind of put us back on track. Okay, we got to squeeze it a little bit and kind of put it back out there.
Rivermen clinching the War on I-74 trophy for the 5th consecutive season. Back-to-back 3-0 victories. You said it, Guy. When you have a good teams, even if they're not playing well, find ways to win. This team's finding ways to win, and they're shutting out Quad City. 3 straight meetings the Rivermen have shut out the Storm and won 3-0.
Yeah, and when I mean not playing well, I mean in certain phases.
Right.
I believe that still away from the puck, we're playing extremely hard. I believe our PK is still extremely good. Our power play has been getting better and better. We're first in the league, but it's still, it's still to me, it's always about details. Getting better every single day, and so we're doing a lot of good things away from the puck. Mm-hmm. I felt like with the puck this weekend, we were predictable. Mm-hmm. We were slow. We weren't sprinting to our spots. Our support was average. So, that phase of the game, I felt like we needed a little work, and the boys put in the work this week. And like I always say, kudos to them, because, as a pro athlete at the end of the year, sometimes you don't want to go on the ice for an hour and a half. Mm-hmm. And we had a long practice on Monday and long one yesterday, but the boys bought in, and we got better. So today we had a great recovery day.
The identity line has continued to lead. And for folks who don't know the identity line, I mean Dante Zapata, Jan Pietrowski, and Braden Barker. That line has continued to be the bread and butter line, so to speak, for the Peoria Rivermen, leading the way, leading the charge, the vanguard unit. How has that unit just continued to bring others in the fight?
I heard a great thing from Darcy Tucker yesterday. He was explaining on Barstool about he played Major Junior, had 140 points a year. Mm-hmm. When he got to the NHL, he started understanding that he wasn't going to be, because in the old days it was you had your top 6 forward that played offense, you had your bottom 6 that played physical defense, and he started understanding that if he wouldn't change his game and just think offense, he wasn't going to be able to be a regular in the NHL. So he started changing his game and becoming a physical presence and stuff like that, and that's what I try to do at this level, because most guys that want to go up to the ECHL from this level are not going to be first liners. Mm-hmm. So they have to learn to play a complete game, and complete game, if you want to be a great player, when you're in the offensive zone, get every recovery as an F1, finish every check, get to the net, do the dirty work, and then you'll have tons of success. You can still have the same amount of points as a scorer, but you're going to do it differently, and that game is going to be a little bit more transferable to the higher levels. And I think that line about 13 games ago finally got that, okay, when we play this style, we're extremely effective, mm-hmm. and we are actually the identity of the Peoria, and that's how we want to play the game. And now everybody buys in. Of course, we had a few games here and there that wasn't perfect, but when those 3 are together and they play the simple way, they're all fast. They all have great sticks. They can all finish checks. So for us, it just gives us that energy necessary to kind of bring everybody in the fight and play extremely well. So they've been a blessing for us, and that's kudos to Eric Levine. He found them in the second period. Like, they put them together, and they started clicking right away, and they're three roommates that have a lot of fun together.
We also talked a little bit about this the other day. I thought a line you put together in the early mid stages of Sunday's game, a line with Joseph Draplick centering Quinn Green and Ty Enns. That line had some motor.
Yeah, they played extremely well, and we talked about that situation yesterday. We're going to try different things right now.
Yep.
I really like Ty's been a center all his life. He just came back, so I want to try him at center this weekend. So we're lucky enough to be where we are in the standings, that we can try different things. And we talked about the last 2 games of the year. We'll be dialed in with the lines we want to go into the playoffs. But that line was extremely good, and they were good. Why?
Yeah.
Because they just skated, they put pressure. They reloaded, they forechecked hard, and then they're all. I always say, if you played for the Ribbon for a long time, you're able to make a play. Like, I wouldn't keep you if you're not able to make a play. So they can all make plays, but I always say, to be able to make plays, you have to get the puck, and then when you get the puck, you have to find space. The good players are able to skate that hard and do those things. The players that are not buying in as much as going to get the puck, being physical as an F1, getting a second quick, getting those puck in space, then making plays, that's where we don't get that ozone possession that we usually have.
Right. You mentioned to me once that you love this time of the year, the last 5 or 6 games left of the season. You like this as your kind of laboratory time to experiment and try new things. Why is that? Can you describe that process?
Yeah, well, I've been fortunate over the years. I have phenomenal leadership group, great people in the locker room, great players. So we're always in the top 3. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the year. So we never really cared about finishing first. We care about winning every aspect, but we don't care. And a lot of times you're going to win a lot of games, but we don't look at like finishing first as a goal. We just want to make sure we're ready when we enter the playoffs. So when you bring in college guys and new faces and stuff like that, it puts people, one, it's a competition. So you're not as comfortable. We brought in Ty. He looks really good. Greener looks really good. You know what I mean? So they're fighting for, you know what I mean? Some guys are fighting for their lives now, so it brings that intensity up also. But also, you find diamonds in the rough. Like you said, that line, like I would not be I would not be worried at all to start a playoff game with those 3 together, with Draps. You know what I mean? So for me, it's fun. You find some things sometimes, and I brought in a kid, Nick, right now from Point. And he looked really good in practice yesterday. So you never know. He might be a diamond in the rough and become, a top 4D for us. So you just don't know what you're going to get until you see him in games. Some people transfer their game really well from college to pro. Some a little bit more difficult, a little bit more time. So we'll see. We'll experiment the next 4 games on the road, have fun with it, see who works well together. We already know the identity line is going to start in the playoffs. You know what I mean? And then after that, we got to find lines that are going to go a little bit like that. And then finding that space after that to let their skill do their talking.
You mentioned those diamonds in the rough. Those can be so important in a playoff stretch. Think in the championship season, Lord Anthony Grissom, defenseman, came out of college, became a staple on the back end. I still have flashbacks to that shorthanded sequence 5-on-3 with him and Zach Gooley just blocking shot after shot after shot. And those are the types of guys that can win you a championship.
That was, I say for years, that year the reason we won was because we put deposits in the right spot all the time to get our speed and get first touch on them, and our block shots were amazing. That would give us all the energy in the world. And I remember Lord Anthony, such an humble athlete, loved the kid to death. I still talk to him this year at the beginning of the year because he's such a good person, a good leader. And I remember after the semifinals, we won, and he's looking at me. He's like, "Thank you so much, coach. This is the best experience ever." And I'm like, I said, Chris, we would not be here without you right now. You know what I mean? Like, if it wasn't for you, like, it wouldn't be the same team. So I think those are the diamonds in the rough that you hope to find. You know what I mean? Like, a guy like that just came in with a phenomenal attitude. And if he'd be here today, he'd be one of our captains for sure because his leadership was phenomenal. And that's what we're trying to find right now.
Oh, he's killing it up in the ECHL. That's an example of a guy who took the most of an opportunity here in Peoria and translated that to a higher level.
Absolutely. And that's what we're here for. You know what I mean? Like, those young kids that come here trust in us. We give him back as much as we can. Worked extremely hard for the Lord Anthony that summer, and he got his job. It was hard at the beginning, and then he kept pushing through, and now he's a regular in ECHL.
Rivermen have had some number of really good crowds this year. The big one last Friday night, 8,755. That's a new Rivermen SPHL record. The Rivermen have breached that record now twice in this season alone, once earlier on the year to the education game, the other one on Friday night. A lot of good crowds. How does that help impact this home record because the Rivermen have a plus 900 winning percentage. That's the best home winning percentage in the SPHL right now.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to coach too. I'm sure for the players it's awesome to play, but it's fun. The atmosphere was great, and like the Ben Bishop night, even with 5,000, it felt like it was 9,000. Like the fans were phenomenal. The Friday night with 7,500 to 8,000, the building was just phenomenal. So it's fun. It's fun to coach. It's fun to play. Gives us a lot of energy. The problem is, it's not a problem, but our building is so big. So if you get 2,000-3,000, it looks like it's empty.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So getting those crowds that makes it look, and I always say the eye test is important for players and coaches. And when you see that crowd, it gives you a little bit, a little bit more energy. So it was a lot of fun, and thank you so much for the fans in Peoria to come and support us. Because like you said, our record is a certain record at home for a reason. We're lucky to have our fans that we have and are faithful, so it's a lot of fun.
What's different on the bench when you have that energy? Does Eric turn into like really go-get-'em mode all of a sudden? Or because he's normally very reserved, and we saw a video of him on the bench, and he was getting after it a little bit.
Yeah, he does. He gets after it. He's reserved, but he's a competitor.
Yeah.
Same thing when he was a goalie. He was always calm, but he's still a competitor inside.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you want to win, and he's always like that, and he's been great this year for us. I wouldn't want this journey without anybody else, and especially me not making the road games for a while. It was so nice to have Eric there, and like I said, it was great for him also to learn as a head coach by himself, because me, if I would have been there, I'd take over the bench, and he went through his tough times, he went through good times on the road, and that's how you learn as a coach. So I'm very grateful for him, and he always has that energy. I always say 80% of what I'm going to feedback, I'm going to give you a lot of times is negative because it's a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Eric, I think 80% of what he gives back is always positive no matter what. So it's a good mix, and we're extremely lucky to have him. And I think the crowd does bring a little bit of energy to coaches because it's fun. Like, it's a lot of fun, and everything about coaching is you always think about how do my players feel.
Right.
So I remember winning a championship 2 years ago, and I thought I was going to feel phenomenal, and all I kept thinking, man, I'm happy for my athletes. That's all I was thinking the whole time, and I was like, okay, I thought I was going to get all right, and I was like, man, I'm happy for those guys, So it's kind of that's why you do it. And for me, I always say, man, with that big crowd, those players should have a lot of fun and should be. So it's great. It's been phenomenal the last few weeks, that's for sure.
That's interesting you say that, because I'm sure during that time a number of people, myself included, were thinking, oh my gosh, I'm so happy for those players in Jean-Guy. Because think about it, you've been in the finals how many times? 3 years in a row?
Yeah.
Came up short, and then finally you go in and you get it. You told me yourself you sleep a lot better at night after that
I
championship.
did. That's the only thing that I felt after the game. So I was so pumped for my players, but it felt like a big weight came out of my shoulder. I was like, okay, I can sleep now. Because you got to remember, as much as I'm a Quebec kid, I've been here for 20-something years. So this is my home, and, I have a lot of pride in hockey. Especially in Peoria. So I wanted to always bring a championship. It took longer, but you're right. When you have to wait till your fourth finals to win it, it makes it tough. But we got it done, and it didn't change my motivation, because every single year I want to make Peoria proud. So I'm trying to bring them a championship every single year, and we're lucky. This is going to be our last ride with a lot of these guys. So hopefully we can get it done this year.
Certainly so. And last question about Eric Levine. I wanted to bring this up. In what aspect do you think has Eric really improved as a coach from the beginning of the year now as we get towards the end of the regular season? What aspect has he improved the most?
So, for fans, so game management is a key to hockey. Understanding your reads as a coach, understanding 4 shifts in advance what you're going to do, understanding if there's a PK, which line's going to go to give you energy after that, but they still have to have legs. Understand. So it's always like 4 or 5 moves in advance, and then you see the matchups. If one line's dominating you, who do you match up? Do I match up my 2Ds? Do I match up? Do we have 5Ds? So there's so much management of the game that it takes a while, because it gets overwhelming. If you're not used to it, it really does get overwhelming. And especially for, like he said, he was a goaltender. So all you had to think about was stop the puck and do what you have to do. But there's so much more. Like, okay, we have a 20-second shift in their zone. They just get a punt out. How fast can we go back after them? As a coach, how do you explain that to the players? How do you make them understand? Okay, the second period's a long change, but if we get them there, how long? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's so much game management to everything, and I think that's where he had to learn a lot. Because as a goalie, like I said, you just stop the puck and you do your thing. You get ready mentally. You do what you have to do, but. With players, there's a lot more to it, and I think he's starting to understand that. Okay, this center, so the first period, this center lost 5 in a row. You have to read that as a coach.
Yep.
Like, you have to read everything that's going on in the game, so you put the right guys in the right situation, so they don't make mistakes. Or I always say, it's my job not to make my players look foolish. So if you lose 5 in a row, I'm not going to put you in a bad situation, put you in a D-zone face-off.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's what coaching is. And it's a lot more than people think. When you're used to it, it's simpler. When it's your first year and you go on the road in tough environments and you have to think about all that at the same time, it gets overwhelming.
Because you have the first change, and everyone's going to be matching up against you.
Correct. It's going to match up against you, and then if you see that, okay, this line's taking advantage of the Bear line, then you have to double shift Bear to make sure that line gets tired. So there's a lot of things that you can do to have fun, but you have to see the game. You have to make the reads for that as a head coach, and it gets intense sometimes. So if you get caught up in the moment, you didn't think 4 shifts in advance who you're going to put out there.
Right.
So it's just the game management part takes a while. I think he got a lot better, and I think he's got, like myself, like any other coach, he's got a lot to improve on. But that's why we do it every single day, try to get better.
Speaking on improve on getting better, the Rivermen on the road in Evansville for 2 games, Friday and Saturday here this weekend. First of 5 straight, 5 out of the last 6, as you mentioned, on the road. Peoria starting it off in Evansville. What do you want to see the Rivermen improve on this weekend in Evansville?
Well, first off, I'm pumped because I get to go on the road now. My youth hockey's over, so I get to have my roommate back, and I get to go on the road. And I want to see the same details we do at home. We got to do it on the road. We understand that we're going to get pushes, momentum change when they're at home. They're going to have a few more of those. But if we play the right way and play connected, I still think we can do the same thing. So consistency in what we do at home, we got to transfer it on the road. And for that, it's the right mindset. We got to go that with the right mindset of understanding, the pre-scout, who we're playing, what they're doing well, what they're doing wrong, attacking their weaknesses, and making sure that we kind of contain what they do extremely well. And that's going to be a key in the playoff because no matter what, we're probably going to start on the road. So we got to make sure that first game is key because every time in the playoff series that we start on the road and lose the first game, it puts a lot of pressure on the home team when you come home. So we got to get and I love that we're playing 5 in a row. I won't lie to you. I'm extremely excited. We needed road games right now to get that consistent going.
Well, consistency is going to be the key here down the stretch. The Rivermen just 1 point out of first place, but more importantly, playoffs just around the corner. Guy, thank you so much for your time.
Do we have one more left, buddy?
Oh, one more
All
show
right,
after this.
one more
One
left.
more show after this, and then it's on to the postseason.
There you go.
For Jean-Guy Trudel, I'm Jason Ruff. This has been Trudel's Take, presented